So I did both of those things. Just to get on this TV show. Because the way I eventually got on was so freaking serendipitous you wouldn't even know. This is the story of how I became a model and actor in China with zero experience. And it's kind of an interesting story and kind of wild. So if you want to, I highly suggest you listen to the end because it's a real fun one. So, get comfortable, I don't know, get some coffee, get some tea or whatever. And listen to my story. So why me, this random white boy you've probably seen maybe for the first time on the internet, ended up in China and started going on all these different Chinese TV shows, variety TV shows, online dramas, TV series. I've been in one of those weird, awkward TikTok dramas. The whole lot. Why was I, appearing on all these different things? To make kind of a long story short. I've always been super interested in Chinese language and culture. I'm doing this video right now in English because I want a bunch of different people to be able to understand this and really enjoy this story because it's kind of interesting. But I recently have been starting to teach people Chinese online. Shameless plug. If you want to learn Chinese with me, feel free to go to the link in my description and even on my channel here where I teach people Mandarin Chinese. I can go ahead and teach you. I've been starting to teach a lot of people right now. And what's kind of why I want to tell this story right now is because I think it's so interesting. People right now at this time of life are super interested in learning Chinese. This whole China maxing thing. There's whole people wanting to start learn Mandarin Chinese and being in a very Chinese period of their life, which is super interesting for me. Is because before that, about when I started learning 12 years ago, nobody gave a fuck about learning Chinese, to put it blankly. It was probably the most unpopular language to be learned in high school. No one really gave a damn. I went to a small school. I think the whole school overall had 800 people, and the total amount of people learning Chinese was probably 10, right? Out of 800 people, only 10. And to this day, I'm the only one who still goes back to my Chinese teacher and still speaks with her in Chinese. So the attrition rate is pretty freaking high. No one really gave a damn about learning Chinese, but for some reason I was, it's a long story, coming from me learning for 12 years, and I'll tell that another day, but just to make a long story short, I was always super interested in learning Chinese. It's something I'm really passionate about, something I've always done, and I wanted to not just be average, I wanted to get really freaking good. So, even when I was in college, I still took Chinese classes. I took Chinese classes in high school, I took them in college, and it was in the time of college when I started getting interested in Chinese television and TV. I wasn't really good at Chinese in college, to be perfectly honest. I was pretty average. I was a pretty average white dude who probably took a few classes and was 我感觉我的中文也挺不错的，就是这种感觉。But it was until I started really I think there's got to be some point where before you watch Chinese TV and after you watch Chinese television, that kind of changes your brain as someone who grows up in America. Because when I first started watching Chinese variety shows, it was kind of so different for me, seeing how Chinese people interact and being I don't understand a lot of these things. I don't understand why Chinese people are react in these certain ways. And I got really addicted to this one TV show where they had a bunch of foreigners get on and start speaking Chinese together and talk about really funny and interesting topics. And it's called, the original version is called 世界听演说, which means world, the use of the world speak. And then the newer version became 非正式会谈, which means informal talks. And I would binge that show on every single day. So much in that period of time, and that period of time just so happened to be the pandemic. Nobody was doing anything, and so that was all I did during the pandemic. I kid you not, I just learned Chinese every day for 8 hours a day. And I'll go into the story of how I learned if you're interested in that, or you can just start taking lessons with me. You can learn together. I love teaching people. And it was at that time that I was just watching that TV show every single day, and it was during the pandemic, so I had everything else to do, and I just got really addicted, no joke. That was all I did. I just watched Chinese TV shows. I just watched it, and I kid you not, it literally kind of manifested this whole experience. It was kind of crazy. But I would go on Hello Talk. Hello Talk is one of my favorite apps for learning Chinese because I just made a bunch of friends online, right? And so I made a bunch of Chinese friends online, and I would tell them all the different shows I was watching, and I'd want to discuss with them as much as possible. And 非正式会谈, or informal talks, was what I talked about with a lot of friends a lot. So, people kind of knew I was always that guy. I really wanted to be on this TV show. I was really interested. Even when I was working at freaking Home Depot, I was working at Home Depot during the pandemic, to make some money on the side. I remember going the cold winter days, I put on my hat that had earbuds hid inside them, and I would wear this hat, and I would be secretly listening to this TV show while I was sweeping the floor. It's no joke. That's literally what I was doing, because I love, and I was imagining what I would say if I was on that TV show. I kid you not, I kind of manifested the whole experience that eventually started happening, because the way I eventually got on was so freaking serendipitous you wouldn't even know. And anyways, many years later on, you know, I wasn't able to go to study abroad. All these kids able to go to study abroad, go to China. Yeah, I'm having my hot boy, my hot girl summer, whatever the fuck you want to say. In China, I didn't get any of that shit because it was during freaking COVID. But eventually, I was like really resolute. I was like, okay, I want to go to China after I graduated from college. So I graduated from college and I got a Chinese government scholarship. And, you know, the way that I am, if you haven't noticed right now, like I like to do things that nobody else does. Like if everyone's doing one thing, I'm like, fuck it, I'm gonna do the other one. So you know, people when they go to, I don't know if anyone really knows, but like, you know, when people go to study abroad or when they go to China, I'm gonna go to Beijing, I'm gonna go to Shanghai, I'm gonna go to all these like really prestigious like universities. They want to go to the places that, you know, everyone goes to, and there's a lot of foreigners. You can hang out together. I said, fuck that. I don't want to do that at all. And so I looked up my major was astronomy, believe it or not. I had a double major in astronomy and Chinese, and so I was like, okay, let me look up a school that has like a good major for astronomy. That's what I was saying. I was studying astronomy. I was studying space in Chinese. All right. I was like, okay, let me find a city I've never freaking heard of. So I was doing my research. Like, okay, what are some good astronomy schools? And I found this one school called the University of Science and Technology of China, USTC, or 中国科学技术大学 in Chinese. Okay, and I was like, oh damn, this is great. They have great astronomy, and they're in this like city I've never fucking heard of, called Hefei. Like some Chinese people haven't even heard of it. It's really developing right now, but that's another story. Anyways, I applied to there, and I don't think they've had like an American student apply there in like freaking years. So part of me thinks that the reason why I got in there is because they're like, oh shit, like finally we get some like, you know, some like Ome in Chinese, like European and American representation. You know what I mean? And so I eventually went to that school after I graduated, and yeah, I kid you not, in that university, I was the only American student at that time going there. There were a few others, but like they had left because of the quarantine, because of, you know, COVID and everything like that. And I was the only one who came back, so to say. And I was like, you know, in my classes, I was the only foreigner. In my major, I was the only foreigner. I would go into classes and there would all be all Chinese kids, like the top Chinese kids. And so this is a top school, right? This is not like I didn't go to like some random school. It's in a bit of a random city, like for a foreigner, but like it's still a really good school, right? And so I went there and I was learning astronomy in Chinese, and I loved it. It was great. I was like, damn, I'm getting experience that no other freaking American student is getting in their life. Like, okay, yeah, it's really fucking hard. Okay, I don't really know how to, like, I can't really understand my gravitational, you know, my gravitational theory, like, classes, but like, 广义相对论, whatever, like, you know, I can't understand them, but whatever. I'm out here, I'm having a lot of fun. And so I ended up having so much more fun, like, outside of the school, right? Because I was just so fucking happy to be in China. Like, I don't know if anyone can understand it, because, like, I don't know, that's just something I really want to do. I hadn't left America in years, and how old was I? I was like 22, 23 at the time, and I just really wanted to get the fuck out of America and go experience something else. So I finally went to China. I was just so freaking happy. I would go out. I was like life. Don't even fuck this China maxing thing. I was just trying to life max as much as possible. I was just trying to go out, meet new people, try new experiences. I was like a yes man, like way too much. You know, saying like, oh yeah, let me go do this, let me do that. Like I had my little moped. I'd go around the city. Like I loved it because it was like a third tier city in China. Like I loved experiencing things that weren't, you know, a bit more off the beaten path for someone who's typically been to China. And I kid you not, like it's kind of bad, but like I only hung out with Chinese people. Like I didn't hang out with any foreigners. Like if you're a foreigner, I had a few foreign friends, all right, and we'd hang out every once in a while, but like, you know, it was a bit of like a thing for me. Like, you know, even like, you know, with dating, like if the girl like spoke a little bit of English, like I wasn't interested. I guess it's so bad when you say it like that, but like if she was too good at English, no, like sorry, you're out. Obviously you should not make that the choice of you know, relationships and partners. Like that is not a good way to do it, but like that's just where my mind was at, like just so you can get in that feeling, right? And so I was there, and I was just trying to get everything out of life, and this is the moment where everything changed, and like I kind of did that life maxing thing, and I just started doing shit I never thought of. So I just went out to the club. Like this had to be in December, because it was around Christmas and New Year's. It was my first time like away from home, Christmas and New Year's. I was kind of depressed because my school was pretty nerdy. A lot of the kids are pretty nerdy. They don't really go out. They don't really do things, and I didn't really have like friends who just like to go and like hang out and chill, you know, and not talk about like research or homework or things like that. So I just went out by myself, like no joke. I literally went out by myself. Like I just went and talked with people in Chinese and made some friends. And, I just followed a bunch of people, and, I made a bunch of friends. They're a little bit, the guys who their families got a little bit of money, they don't really have to give a shit about life, and they just go and, drink and hang out every weekend. Not the healthiest friends, but, an interesting experience, an interesting squad to, hang around with for a little bit. And then, but one night I was hanging out with them, and then we went to another bar, and it was kind of like a quieter scene. People were playing billiards, people were hanging out, drinking on the side. And, most of the time when I hang out, I'm only hanging out with Chinese people. But I saw this one dude, he was also another foreigner, right? It's kind of like that one thing people say, it's like a joke in China, like when another foreigner sees another foreigner, it's almost like that Key and Peele skit. It's like, this is my, what are you doing, my like, obviously, I'm not a very hostile person. You can tell I'm very friendly. So, like, I saw the dude, I was like, hey, what's up, man? Like, interesting to see you here. He's like, yeah, man, same thing. Like, he was very cool. Like, I liked him a lot. He was African. I'm not exactly sure what country he was from, but I remember that. And I was very intrigued. I was like, damn, this is like not a very international city. It's like kind of interesting to see you here. And he was like, yeah, same here. Like, I was like, what do you do in China? He's like, oh, I'm a model. I was like, oh, damn, you're a model? Damn, I've never met a foreigner who's a model. Most of the time I see them, they're like an English teacher, they're a student like me. I've never met a model before. He's like, yeah, like I've been a model here for so many years. And like, I was like, can I be a model? Like, is that something that I can do? He's like, yeah, man, you just gotta know the right people. You just gotta, start talking with people and network. He's like, man, you speak Chinese really well. Like, just to like let everyone know, I had studied Chinese for 8 years before, 8 years before I had actually gone or had actually stepped foot in China, and I had passed HSK6 before that because I was like, that's all I wanted, that's all I did. Like, I just literally just like lived and breathed Chinese before that, so I got there already pretty fluent and pretty like conversational with people. And then I was talking with him, and he was like, yeah, man, you got great Chinese. Like, I've got a few contacts here in the city that you should talk to, and I think maybe they could give you some opportunities. I was like, oh, damn. He's like, because they've got a bunch of people in the city, and there's not that many foreigners. So I was like, okay, sure, yeah, man, I'll do it. And so he, like, that night, literally right there, then and there, he added me to like a WeChat group chat. There's like all these different, WeChat group chats where like there's different foreigners like in there, and they post different advertisements for like whatever, for this TV show, that TV show, this modeling thing, that modeling thing. And all you have to do is add them on WeChat and like send them a few pictures of yourself. Like, obviously it's better to have them a bit more professional, but I got all my materials just from doing more ads, like, and then it would get me more materials and I would get more gigs. And then from that one contact that dude gave me that one night at like 3 a.m. at the bar, he then introduced me to this other guy who got me a bunch of other gigs like in the city. I didn't have to go anywhere. He was just like, yeah, be here at this time and I'll pay you. Like, my first few gigs, he like lowballed me so much because I didn't know anything about like how much people are getting paid doing these gigs. Like, I didn't know anything. I was a student, right? Like the most exploitable like human being in China is like going in there being a student and like not knowing anything about like how to like set your price and things like that. And then from there, my first gig I did was like I was at like a chemical company like in China, like where I was literally pretending to be a scientist. And I was like writing a formula on, a wall, and I was like, pretending to be like a scientist for this chemical. I couldn't even remember I didn't know what they were doing. I couldn't remember what they were manufacturing. But yeah, that was my first gig, and I got like 300 RMB when I really probably should have gotten like 800 or something for it. But the middleman took a lot, but whatever. You live and learn. But it was good, materials that I used for later jobs to help me get later things. And then and there, I started doing a lot of different like modeling things in the shop on the side in that city. Like, a lot of them were like different, snack. I did like a snack commercial for like this little like Chinese like black sesame balls, and they like a way. It's funny because like they had me take my shirt off and I was wearing an apron, and I was just like eat 老纪磨坊 or whatever the freaking brand was. I forget what it is, but it was these 黑芝麻丸, and I ate so many of these freaking 黑芝麻丸, like black sesame balls. And then I was eating so many of them, I like had to freaking spit them out in between takes because I was so sick of this fucking snack. But that was a good gig. And then like I did some other shit, like I just did a whole bunch of other stuff in that city. But that was like small chump change, right? Making money here and there. The bigger stuff then came on when I started doing other shit. Like, I was also, another thing that got me a lot of shit was I was pretty bored in the city, right? And I was like, I used to watch a lot of Chinese like stand-up comedy, like TV shows like 中国脱口秀大会 or like 中国什么, all these different freaking stand-up comedy shows. And then you know, I was like, you know, why don't I just go and try tell stand-up comedy like in China? Like that seems like pretty fun and interesting. So I looked up like if they had a local club in my city, and well, you know, they did. And so I signed up, and I think I had to be like the first foreigner who ever signed up to tell stand-up comedy. And I told it in Chinese, and it was funny too, because I had, before that, when I was in America, I told stand-up comedy in Brooklyn, and nobody laughed. Like literally nobody laughed. It was my first time telling stand-up comedy. It was so hard. It was like really deep in Brooklyn, so fucking hard. And I came here in China, and I told this like kind of like funny lightheaded story of like some kind of funny jokes, funny like mistakes I made back early in Chinese, and then this one like story of how I almost got like tricked into doing this like male live stream like stripper job, whatever shit like this in China. That was a lot more of a hit here and there in China. Like, and not just, I can say I have a video of it. It's not even like oh, they're just like, you know, feel bad for me. It was kind of, I thought it was pretty good. Maybe they were feeling bad for me. I don't know. Anyways, I digress. But I took a video of that, so I had a whole video of that, and eventually I saw all these different like postings in these chats about like, you know, cooler, like a little bit more, you know, not just like these really low level kind of, you know, commercials, but like actual cool, interesting, you know, TV shows. And I was like, damn, I want to get on a TV show. I don't want to just be doing like this freaking snack commercial and eating these freaking and these black sesame balls like all the fucking time. I want to do something interesting. So I started submitting myself to a bunch of these other ones. And you know, when you start doing this, you start meeting like who are like the main heads, like who this casting director does this, that, and you just start meeting them, and they're like, sometimes they're foreigners, sometimes they're Chinese, and it really helps to speak Chinese, especially because like, you know, then they help you, they like you a lot more because then you can help them translate sometimes when there's like a miscommunication with other people. I did a lot of that, and that's how I got a lot of other gigs, you know what I'm saying? And so I submitted that comedy video of me telling comedy because they needed an actor for this one like online drama, and it's like called a web series, so it was like every episode was 10 minutes long, but it was like, it wasn't vertical, it was still horizontal, and it was filled on it was later published onto Youku, which is like a similar version of YouTube, but over in China. And so they needed someone specifically in my city who could speak Chinese, like the whole script was in Chinese. And so I was like, damn, yeah, I could do that. So I sent my materials, and they're like, yeah, we like you, you're in. Like, that's it. Like, you know, I didn't freaking give a fuck if I had like studied acting before, if I'd been in this anymore. They were just like, yeah, we like your style, you're in. And I was in. There it was. I was in. So that they selected me for that. I became homies with that guy, the casting director. And so I remember because it was in my city, I rode my moped over to like, it was in a different part of the city, so I kind of had to go on my little moped for like 30 minutes to get to the hotel over there. I got there the night before because then we had to drive to a little bit more of a remote, different district in the city. If you've ever been to Hefei, if you're Chinese, I went to Feixi. Feixi is a different district kind of further out from the inner part of the city in Hefei. So they went from Hefei to Feixi, and so I was in the hotel that night. I remember like I was so ready. I've never been so ready for anything. I took my lines, and I was just sitting there in the hotel like going them over and over and over again, over and over and over again. And you know, and then the morning up, I was so fucking ready. I could say those things like bam. And I remember like I had to wake up early, and I had to go to a different room where they did my makeup and everything. I remember sitting there and looking to my left and seeing the main actor. I was a supporting character. I was like the supporting, like I'll put a few clips of mine from that TV show there. I was supposed to be like this like drunk, kind of like happy-go-lucky like hacker bartender owner who was helping the main character take down his main villain. And most of our scenes were in like a bar, and so that was kind of like my whole shtick. That was like my whole, you know, thing. And so, you know, they made my makeup and everything. And I remember looking to the guy on the left, and he was like, you know, he was like, that was his thing. Like, he was a freaking actor, and like he just like he didn't even say anything to me at the time, because, you know, who the fuck was I at that point? He was like he was not only that, he was really fucking like drilling because he had a whole fucking stack of lines, and just doing his hair is just like flipping through it, because he had a lot of scenes, man. Like that's what he has to do. So overall, he had a much harder time than I did. Because they really like freaking in China, like the work hours are long. It's like 12 hours. You're there the whole day. Like, you know, I got paid pretty well because all my scenes, I had a lot of different scenes in that one day, but all my filming was done in just one day because I was just a supporting character, and also I was in different periods in a lot of different episodes, but all my filming was just done. They thought it was supposed to be done in two, but they just did it in one because they were moving pretty fucking fast. And yeah, but it was a lot of fun. Like, I was probably the one time that got me really like being like, damn, kind of want to consider being I wasn't even studying acting, right? Like, I wasn't even like, I just happened to do this by freaking life maxing, like not China maxing. I hate this fucking phrase of China maxing. I'm just life maxing, all right? Like, I don't want to be associated with those motherfuckers. But anyways, so I did that, and then upon doing that, like, that just got me really interested in acting, and it was a whole fun experience, right? Like, I was sitting there, you know, there's a whole fucking Chinese crew. I was able to talk with everybody and, like, you know, do different scenes, and I had a lot of fun with it, especially because I had my lines down. Like, I could kind of play around with it, and there's so many things, like, I wish, like, now, like, because I've had a little more experience, like, I would do things a little bit differently. It was I miss it, but like, that's kind of like got me a little taste for it. And then after that, you know, I did a lot of other different things, you know, because I befriended another casting director. He was from Xinjiang, right? And a lot of people in China thought I was from Xinjiang because I'm half Lebanese, so I have a little bit of like Middle Eastern features. And people from Xinjiang, they also don't look like Hanzu, or like the main Han ethnic group in China. So a lot of people, because I spoke Chinese, they thought I was from Xinjiang. And so, even though people from Xinjiang wouldn't think so, because I don't really look like them technically. But anyways, I became really good friends with him, and he would always help me get me different like roles, and so he helped me get a role in this like really fucking, it was really bad but so funny. Like, it was so, I don't know if you ever like done or participated in a vertical drama, like, they're really bad, like, just in terms of like plot and like, and, you know, development, how they're written, but like, it's just so much fun as an actor to like film, because they're so bad, but like, it's just fun because there's so much drama, and like, things move so fast. And I remember, like, it was fun because I got to go to a new city, everything was paid for. Like, I've never actually traveled in China because I was a freaking broke, you know, exchange student. I was literally broke. Like, I had just had a bit of savings that I had from like America. Like, I don't have anyone supporting me. Like, everything is just done by myself. And you know, I would like just get money from whatever like acting thing I could do, or, you know, my measly scholarship that I had. And so, you know, to be able to have everything paid for and all my meals paid for and things like that, like, was actually so dope. Like, I got to go to new cities, and I went to go to Hengdian. Hengdian is like where a lot of these really famous big Chinese movie sets are filmed. So I got to go there to film this really awful like drama, which I'll put a few clips here just for fun because it's really freaking fun. But yeah, like, all because I just started life maxing. It was a lot of fun. And then from there, that's when things like got really, like, I went from like one level to another level, and then to another level. The next level was actually getting on like a Chinese variety show, and not only just a Chinese variety show, the one that I had always wanted to be on, the one that I was like, when I was back here in America and during the pandemic, and I was like, you know, I was like freaking Cinderella in the Home Depot, being like, oh, one day maybe I'll be on this TV show, like dreaming, manifesting this TV show. The way I got this TV show was like so serendipitous, and you literally could not recreate it. Like, that's why I really believe in like manifestation and, you know, reality transurfing and all these different things, because like the way that it happened is exactly how, you know, one would describe someone like reaching someone's goals via these principles. Okay, that's why I really believe heavily in this stuff, because I had always really wanted to go, right? But I knew, like, I knew it was a little bit of like, you know, all these things have to conspire, and I don't really know how they reach out to you, and there's like a casting team, but, you know, they have to come to you. And so I was like, you know what, it would be nice to be on it, but if it doesn't happen, no problem. It was like, if I can go, great. If I can't, whatever. And because, I don't know if everyone remembers from the beginning of my story, but I said when I was first learning Chinese, I love to use Hello Talk, right? This random app that everyone makes fun of because it ends up becoming like a dating app. But like, being perfectly honest, I never dated anybody before I started learning Chinese, like, from China. So I'm not like one of those China magazines like, let's go get some Chinese girl. Like, I was in it for the language, okay, y'all. Yeah, so I don't want to be put together with you China maxes, all right? So back to my point, all these different friends I made on Hello Talk, I used to say that, you know, I just talk about my personal interests and things like that. And I always used to say that I love this TV show, 非正式会谈, or informal talks. I would love to go on it one day. That would be really cool. It's kind of my inspiration for learning Chinese, because I saw all these different, you know, foreigners, people from different countries learning to speak Chinese. I'm like, wow, it's something doable, something I think I can do. And so I said this to this one friend, and it's funny, like, she actually had been reached out to by that, like, the casting team of that variety TV show, and like it was, and it's funny too because she was Chinese, right? Like, Chinese, like they cast only foreigners because like all the guests are foreigners who speak Chinese, but they had thought that she was like Chinese or that she was Japanese or Korean, because she had like some account on Xiaohongshu or Red Note with like she had an American boyfriend, and they had their own like account, and like they had thought she was, and they had a bit of fans, so they thought she was like Japanese or Korean. They're like, would you like to go on? And she was like, no, I can't go on. And her boyfriend was American, but her boyfriend didn't speak Chinese, right? And so, but she was like, I can't go on and my boyfriend can't go on, but I have this friend and he loves your TV show and his Chinese is really good. Why don't you like see if he wants to get on the show? And so they had recommended me, and I was so like, you don't know how thankful I was to her. Like, we're still good friends. Like, I still hang out with her. Like, you know, we're really good friends, because like, you don't know how like much that like meant to me to recommend me for that TV show. And it was the most random connection, right? Like something you would never think. Like everyone's like, oh, stick to yourself. That's why I always think like, you just talk to people. You never know like who somebody can introduce you to, or like something that can conspire to another just because you did that little extra effort. Like the most random connection on the internet that I made. Like, what if that day I was tired and I didn't talk to her, and I was like, I don't want to talk to anyone right now. Like, I would have missed the opportunity completely. But because I did, and I just shared myself and I was being honest and genuine, like that happened. And so, and then it doesn't end there. They weren't like, okay, great, you're on the show. Like that's not where it ended, right? So they called me, or they added me on WeChat, and they're like, hey, we're from the show. Would you be interested in it? Yeah, of course I'm interested. I just told them about my life. They're like, okay, fill out this, like, send us like some of your resume, and like, we'll get back to you. So I sent them my resume, and they thought it was kind of interesting, right? Because I was American. I was studying astronomy at this like really well-known, my university is like, obviously it was in a not well-known city, but it's a really well-known university in China, because like, it's where like all like the really smart, like, to be honest, like we're all really smart nerdy kids go. Like, and I don't just mean nerdy, like really nerdy, like super nerdy, like they grind, like they're locked in, as we say, right? Like in terms of their studies and research, and like that's where a lot of great scientists and researchers come out of China. And so I was there too. And I was there too. I'm no amazing researcher, but I was there too, anyways, I had an interesting kind of profile, and so they agreed to get on a call with me. So I got on a call with them, and from that call, we chatted for a long time too. They asked me a bunch of questions, asked me what I was interested about. Asked me, like, I just talked about astronomy, why I was interested in studying astronomy. I talked about like the Chinese third body problem. That was like one of these Chinese science fiction novels I really like to read. I read it in Chinese because it's something it's where my interests and passions lie. And so we talked about that, and they were like, okay, great, we like your profile, we'll get back to you. And they didn't get back to me for a long time, and so I was like, damn, oh no, they're not interested in me. I'm not gonna get on this show. Like, oh my gosh. But I wasn't that broken. I was like, okay, it didn't happen, but like, I really wasn't that upset. To be perfectly honest, I wasn't that upset. And because I wasn't that upset, because I didn't place so much importance on it, that's the reason why I think it happened. Like, that's, I don't want to get into all this manifesting or like, reality transurfing stuff, but like, because I just let it be, and I didn't place like too much excess importance on this, then one thing led to another, and about like, it had to have been like 6 months or 3 or 4 months. I also think because the show, like, they weren't sure when it was going to film, but then when it was they were ready to film, they're like, okay, are you ready to get, like, can we interview you again? Because we're getting ready to film the show, and we think you'd be really great. So I was like, damn, I got another opportunity. That's great. And so it was in about like October or something. I was actually in America at the time because during the summer my family wanted me to come back to visit them, so I came back to America. I chatted with them a little bit. They were like, yeah, once you get back to China, like we'd love to interview you again. Like, we want, but not only interview, we want you to come to Wuhan, right? Everyone knows Wuhan from, unfortunately that from the pandemic and COVID. What they really should know for is that's a really amazing city with amazing cultural diversity, and it's a really burgeoning tech center in China. That's and what's also happened is that the television center of this TV show was in Wuhan. So fortunately, it wasn't too far away from where I was. It was only like 2 hours on the high-speed rail. So when I got back to my university, I said, yeah, sure, I'll go there. So I went to I took this high-speed rail. I went to their headquarters stations in Wuhan, and so it was interesting, right? Because on that day they're interviewing 2 of us. The way to describe it to me is they interviewed a bunch of people, and they're trying to decide who would be like the permanent member on the show. Like, because on the show they have like one-day guests, like who are just on there for one episode, and they have like permanent like guests who are there like every episode. And so they were deciding between 2 of us, right? It was either me or this guy from Germany. Right? Like, they were deciding on 2 of us. So out of all these people, they decided on me and this guy from Germany, right? So I was like, damn, like, this is so cool. Like, I made it to the final cut, right? So the way it worked. So I took the high speed rail. I got there, and when I had got there, like there was a whole like kind of like an office room filled of like all these different people from, I think they were like writers of the show who like wrote different episodes. They also had like this computer in front of you that was open, and it seemed like those were like the guys on top who were like making the decision. And there was one like blank screen. It said Bilibili. Like Bilibili is the Chinese version of YouTube, like the official one. So they also like are like this big sponsors of the show, and that's where they put the TV show on later on, in addition to like live television. So that was kind of like, I was kind of pretty nervous, you know what I'm saying? They're drilling with me all these different questions about my life, and like and this is all done in Chinese, right? Like this is drilling me about different questions in my life, and like things out, different like scenarios for different episodes. It's called informal talks, right? So there was always like the whole like shtick of the show is that they ask you all these different funny questions about like things from your country and your past life and your experiences, and they just want to see how you are on camera, if you're kind of like funny and personable and things like that. And so I think I did what I could do, like to the best of my ability, right? But what was so funny, right, is like they were just drilling me with all these questions, right? And then at the end they were like, oh, do you have any like special talents or like abilities? Like, is there any like talents you have? And I was like, I can play some guitar. I was like, I like to dance. Like, I'm not a professional dancer, but I like to dance. And they're like, oh, cool. Like, can you like show us like right now? Like, can you dance for us a little bit right now? I'm like right now, like right now in this room, in this tiny like cramped room. Like, yeah, like, can you do it? I was like, okay, sure. And so I was like, fuck. Like, I took like a hip hop class in college or something, and I like dance a little bit on my own, but I'm not professional. Right? I'm really not professional. But in my mind, I was like, damn, I made it all this way, and am I not gonna get on this TV show because I can't dance right now? So I said, fuck it, like, I'm all right, I can dance a little bit, like, it's not like I can't bust a move when I have to. So I was in the room, and I eventually, like, I was like, all right, I had them play on the song, like, Wolves by Sean. Wolves by who? I'll remember later. Right now, my mind's, like, buzzing because I'm telling the story. They're like, all right, cool, like, cool, can you dance on the TV show? And I was like, all right, cool. Yeah, I guess I can do that. Yeah, sure. And then one of the questions in the thing was, this is another funny part. One of the questions in the show was like, or in the interview was like, oh, is there something you've always wanted to do, but like never wanted to, like never actually had done, but you really would want to try? And I was like, I think it would be cool to like dress up as like some kind of like superhero and go around in public and like just kind of like, do some funny things, make a funny video. And they're like, oh, can you like do that in Hefei, like in the city, like that you're from, and like, can you send that video and we'll put it on the TV show? And I was like really? They're like, yeah, can you just like Spider-Man and just in Hefei, like go dress up as Spider-Man in Hefei and then put it on the TV show? And I was like, in my mind, like the same thing, right? I was thinking like, am I really not gonna get in this TV show right now because I'm not gonna dress like Spider-Man in public? You know what I'm saying? This is why the story gets wild and weird, right? In my mind, I was thinking, no way I ain't getting on this TV show because I can't dance, or I'm not gonna dress up like Spider-Man in public. So I did both of those things. Just to get on this TV show. I don't know, maybe if I said no, they still would have put me on. I don't know, but in my mind, I was thinking, I've always wanted to be this TV show, like fuck it, like I'm just gonna do both those things. So I literally danced on that TV show and in my city. It's a whole video. Like, I don't know how long this video is gonna end up being, but it's kind of a fucking crazy story. I'll just send you a little clip of like how it ended up happening. But yeah, I ended up being on the TV show. But the one downside was that they picked the German dude over me to be the reoccurring guest, the permanent guest on the show. I only appeared in one episode, bro. I was kind of I was a little bit heartbroken, but I was like, fuck it, like being on one episode is fine. And then when I was on that one episode, I was like, you know what? I don't even know if I want to be on every single episode. Like, it was kind of funny, like for someone who had always really wanted to be on that TV show. And like, I would always dream about it, I thought about it. But then when I actually got there, I was like, I don't know if I'd actually want to do this, like on a day-to-day basis, or keep going here and having to do this. Like, I don't know if I'd actually want to do this. Like, it's kind of, I think it would have been fun. And if I had the opportunity, of course I would. But when I actually got there, I was like, it's really not all that it's cracked up to be. Like, it was fun. It was interesting. I met a lot of cool people, but when I got there, I was like, you know what, like, I'm not like crazy for this anymore, which is crazy, right? Like, I think that, oh my gosh, like that experience made me think about it. I still have that feeling of like, oh, I really want to go do something, I'm gonna go chase after it. And that feeling of actually getting it, I think in some ways, yes, it's euphoric and great, but like, when you're chasing these experiences that you still don't really know exactly how they are, and you actually get it, like, it's interesting when there's a little bit of that kind of discrepancy from what you were expecting. But yeah, anyways, all that's to say is that that is the story of how I eventually got on this Chinese TV show. How I, became from being this random ass, like, kid with zero experience, never being on any TV show, never doing any acting before. I studied freaking astronomy and I ended up freaking as a semi C-list television personality, if you can even put it that way. I don't even think you can put it that way, but whatever. On Chinese television. So I'm back here in New York. I kind of do the same things. I'm doing a little bit of acting here in New York, and it's really just freaking funny whenever I talk to my own, like, all my students, my fellow classmates in class, and they're like, "Oh, do you have any acting experience?" I'm like, "Yep." Like, I'm at least like a C-level TV personality in China. I love saying that, because like, you gotta have fun. You gotta have fun with yourself. But yeah, if that story was interesting for you, and if you want to actually learn Chinese, not just see me like talk about stories here. I do this for entertainment value because it's pretty interesting stuff. But if you actually want to learn Chinese, you can go to my website, xiaomomandarin.com. I teach people Chinese. And yeah, we can go from there. But I would love to, I'm going to do more stories like these, both in English and in Chinese, about, cool, interesting things that I did in China, also here in the US, and how learning Chinese could be an amazing language learning journey for you to take in this period of your life. Don't make it just a Chinese period of your life, but actually make it a very fruitful, period of your life where you actually trying to learn the language and not just be a China Maxer. Don't be a Chinese, a China Max. Don't be a fucking China Maxer. Just actually learn Mandarin Chinese and, improve your life and make some cool friends and stories and lore on the way. So yeah, if you are interested in that, hit me up. But yeah, see you in the next video, and it was nice chatting. Bye.